Hello everyone, and welcome to the Tome of Silver, the show where I randomly select a game from my collection, review it, and add it to an ever-growing ranking list. Sakura Wars, or Sakura Taisen in Japan, is a tragic case of a series never getting its proper due in Western regions. Sakura Wars was a huge pioneer of the dating sim strategy genre of gaming. You know those romance mechanics in later Fire Emblem games? This series did it first. It combined the tactical role-playing, visual novel, and dating sim genres into one well-crafted package, featuring a cast of female characters operating steampunk mechs, fighting demons, and possibly finding some love on the side. Sakura Wars was massive in Japan. It received positive reviews, sold tons of copies, branched out into a variety of other media, the whole 9 yards. But when it came time to localize the original 1996 game for Western audiences, Sakura Wars never really took off, despite receiving similar reviews. This led to much of the series remaining Japan exclusive. Of the 6 mainline games, only 3 have been officially translated into English, with basically any of the many spin-off games remaining only in Japanese. The West wouldn't receive its second localized Sakura Wars game until 2010, nearly 15 years later. This game is the subject of today's video, Sakura Wars: So Long My Love, released for the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii. So Long My Love is the 5th mainline game in the series, though thankfully you don't need to have played any of the prior games. Outside some very brief cameos from the first game, So Long My Love is entirely self-contained. For this video we'll be looking at the Wii version, which was actually released exclusively for the West, only releasing on the PS2 in Japan. Let's see what we've been missing all this time. Load into your mech, grab your tickets for the show, and let's turn the page to Sakura Wars: So Long My Love for the Nintendo Wii. Sakura Wars takes place in a fictionalized steampunk version of the 1920s. We're placed in the kimono of young Shinjiro Taiga, nephew of Ichiro Ogami, the protagonist of the first game. Shinjiro has left Tokyo for New York, having been assigned to the New York Combat Review. The New York Combat Review is a military unit stationed at the Little Lip Theater. It's their job to combat demons, while under the guise of a theater troupe, where the members put on performances to put joy and hope into the people. However, when Shinjiro first arrives, he's not given the warmest of welcomes. Numerous unfortunate circumstances quickly put him on the bad side of many of the members. Even worse, it's revealed that the review was anticipating Shinjiro's uncle to be sent, rather than someone inexperienced like Shinjiro. After just his first day, the theater is already prepared to send Shinjiro back just as quickly as he arrived. Though initially crushed, some encouragement from new friend Diana Caprice and the theater's custodian, Gemini Sunrise. Yes, Gemini, not Gemini, that's how her name is pronounced.
Well, I'm Gemini Sunrise, born and raised in Texas, the Lone Star State.
Shinjiro resolves to give it his all during the brief time he is there. Shinjiro's tenacity pays off. His quick thinking prevents a play from being cancelled, and the review allows Shinjiro to join them in battle. During an encounter against the demon Ranmaru, the unit's commander, Ratchet, loses control of her mech and is saved by Shinjiro. For his bravery and kindness, Shinjiro is made the official commander of the squad. Talk about moving up the ranks. As commander, it's up to Shinjiro to put an end to the demon forces, maintain the theater's cover, and perhaps even fall in love. The story is classic early 2000s anime cheese. It's a rather simple story, and I doubt any twists will really knock you out of your seat. It's more about spending time with and getting to know these characters. The battles with the demons are mostly there to help the cast develop. The demons themselves and their goals aren't all that interesting on their own. There are times when the plot can start to lean a bit into too silly territory, but if you let yourself get swept up and go along for the ride, it's a super entertaining adventure with equally as fun characters. Sakura Wars is split into 2 primary segments, daily life and combat. The daily life segments are where you'll have the most opportunity to interact with the cast, and what a great cast it is. I was quite surprised with how much I like Shinjiro as a character. I was expecting him to be a bit generic, to allow players to easily insert themselves into his role. Instead, to my surprise, Shinjiro is his own, fully developed character. He begins as a fish out of water when he first arrives in New York, struggling to adapt to his new environment. If that wasn't enough, he then has massive expectations thrusted on him. It's easy to feel for the guy, as he's doing the best he can while adjusting to a brand new world. You want to root for him and see him prove himself. He's honest, kind, and displays an earnestness to help out those he can, even to his own detriment. It all makes him a very endearing protagonist. The supporting cast aren't slouches either, all being compelling and well written. The Little Lip Theater all feel like a big family, with all the unity and bickering that comes with it. It's heartwarming, even cozy, getting to speak with and participate in everyone's day-to-day life. The moments where the whole cast is together in one room were especially a treat, as their personalities and quirks bounce off one another to great effect. Each chapter in the game places one of the 5 main potential love interests in center stage, and they are all great. Sure, the drama can really ramp up at points and become a bit cheesy, but everyone gets their moment to shine and develop. These are multi-layered characters with their own lives outside the review and Shinjiro. Honestly, no matter which of the girls you decide to pursue, they're all great choices, because they're all great characters. Gemini is best girl, by the way. Even if you're romancing one girl, you'll still want to keep up with the rest of the cast because they're just fun to be around. Just don't romance Rosita. She's 11 years old, she's a child. As you would in any other romance visual novel, your relationship with the cast changes through dialogue options. Selecting the right dialogue raises your bond, while others can bring it down. However, Sakura Wars has a bit of a twist. When provided your dialogue options, a timer will appear around your text box, represented by the steampunk meter. If this meter fills, Shinjiro will say nothing, which is rarely what you want. This means you only have a few seconds to pick the choice you think is best. You don't have any time to stop and think things through or look up a guide. You need to go with your gut and choose what you think is right in the moment. There are even instances where you need to choose how loudly Shinjiro speaks with how much strength he acts. I won't pretend this wasn't surprisingly stressful at times, popping on screen as I desperately tried to read the options as fast as I could and say the right thing. There were moments when I was in such a hurry to pick something that I hadn't properly read what I selected, leading to me saying something I didn't intend to. It's a dialogue option that requires the player to keep their wits about them at all times. If you're looking for an easy, laid-back visual novel, that's not quite what you're getting here, but I welcome the challenge of trying to parse what a character would want to hear while under a time limit. Outside of the story, there are brief moments of free time where you'll be provided the chance to walk around New York and visit certain areas. Free time provides additional opportunities to speak with and raise your bond with cast members. Visiting a location uses up time on your clock, and these segments only last a limited time. You won't be able to visit every spot within the time provided, meaning you'll need to select where you go carefully. Where I take issue with this is that nothing tells you who is currently where. While the cast typically favors certain spots, they're never confined to one location. This can make finding a particular character you may wish to raise your bond with difficult without using a guide. Time is used up as soon as you visit a location, so if the person there is someone you can't raise your bond with, or worse, no one is there, you've just wasted a limited opportunity. Each character has a game-long side story you can follow along with. By visiting certain spots at the right time, you'll be greeted with a piece of the side story. The tricky thing is that these side stories continue regardless if you've seen them or not. As such, you'll likely only be able to witness a portion of the side story in a given playthrough unless you happen to visit the same character consistently. Some are easy enough. Subaru learning the importance of the emotion one places in music occurs primarily at the jazz club in Harlem. So as long as you constantly visit the jazz club, you'll likely get most of the story. And then there are other ones like Gemini's. Her story of trying to be accepted as a city girl rather than a country bumpkin happens in areas all around the city, making it very difficult to experience. Really, the only way to get the full story a player may be interested in, outside of using a guide, is to just get lucky and hope you stumble upon the right spots at the right time. There is something to be said about the feeling of discovery. There's a certain fun to the surprise of visiting a spot and just happening upon a character you like speaking to. It's almost like popping out for a bit and having a chance encounter with a friend at the grocery store. Just like that friend, the cast have lives outside the protagonist. They continue to pursue their own goals, regardless of whether Shinjiro is present for it or not. Plus, if you miss out on part of the side story, you're not locked out of experiencing the rest of it. You'll just be missing a sliver of the whole picture. You can always keep an eye out for what you missed during your second playthrough. That said, I do still wish they had maybe placed a character icon over each location. That way, players know who is where and can follow along the stories of the characters they're most interested in. Sakura Wars' split of genre is approximately 70% visual novel and 30% tactical strategy. While that may seem small, that doesn't take away from the mechanical depth of the strategy portions. When it comes time to face off against the demons, the New York Combat Review suits up and takes control of their mechs, referred to as stars in the story. In combat, any move you make, whether it's attacking, movement, defense, or healing, uses a portion of the steam meter by your character's health. With so many options all using the same resource, the player must choose their actions carefully. Managing this meter to make sure you're using your limited actions as best as you can is key. Another important factor is each character's specialties. For example, Subaru Star's normal attack hits in an area of effect around her. Sharon can hit multiple opponents in a straight line, and Rosita can only hit one target, but with far greater range. They do a great job making each character feel special, and I was especially impressed with the little details the developers put into making each character's mech feel personalized to the pilot. Rosita's Star is the only one with a jetpack, since Rosita is always on the move and bouncing around. Meanwhile, the calmer and more collected Subaru Star goes invisible and poses like a ninja while running. The team put a lot of thought and care into designing these mechs, so while they may look similar in uniform when standing next to each other, the way they animate is anything but. Underneath a character's health bar is their SP. SP is needed to perform several important maneuvers. This includes healing themselves or teammates, performing their heavy-hitting special moves, or performing joint attacks. Joint attacks hit any enemies between the two selected characters, with the damage dealt being determined by the bond between the two. The stronger the bond, the greater the damage. While the bond between the cast will rise by constantly using the joint attack, they can also be affected during the visual novel portions. In fact, the playable characters don't have levels like your typical RPG. Instead, your character's stats are entirely determined by the choices you make during the story. As you make decisions that the girls like during the story, you'll raise not only their relationship, but their motivation as well. If the character is highly motivated, they'll earn a considerable boost to their movement and stats. Meanwhile, someone who isn't motivated at all will perform far worse. This means Sakura Wars has no level grinding whatsoever, and encourages you to engage with and build a strong bond with the whole cast, not just the girl whose ending you're going for. This does show a problem with the previously discussed free time not showing where a particular character is to interact with. If a character's motivation is low, or you'd like to have the character reach a high motivation, you'd naturally want to use these free time movements to speak with them and boost your relationship. But because finding them is based primarily on luck without a guide, you may miss your opportunity. If by some awful chance you continuously make the wrong decisions and make your party at a low motivation, it can lead to particularly difficult combat scenarios with no way to grind and make your character stronger to compensate. Motivation resets each chapter, and thankfully the strategy portions of the game are rather forgiving and plenty doable with a weaker party. You'll just need to really put your thinking cap on. Most of the regular enemy types go down pretty easily, and much of the challenge comes from the stage gimmicks and bosses. The gimmicks augment the stages greatly, changing up the goal of each strategy segment in ways that provide a fun challenge. My personal favorite was Chapter 4, which had these airborne insect pods that would drop down sacks of poison. If the poison wasn't destroyed in 3 turns, it's game over. However, the insect pods will keep dropping the poison until they are eliminated. This means you need at least one party member to take to the sky and put a stop to the pods. This required me to carefully assess my party's strengths and weaknesses, and split them up accordingly, with one group remaining on the ground as poison control, while the others worked on destroying the pods. Each stage has something to it that makes it special, so while the strategy segments only made for a small portion of the game as a whole, they nevertheless made sure you remembered them. I especially enjoyed the boss fights. To defeat the bosses, you'll need to expose and destroy the core of the robot they're piloting, and how you go about that is up to you. The boss usually has several limbs that can deal devastating amounts of damage, or affect the battle in a handful of ways. You can choose to rush the core, and risk being overwhelmed by its onslaught of attacks. Alternatively, you can choose the more careful route, slowly taking out the various parts of the robot, and thereby removing many of its actions and making it progressively easier to manage. My only gripe with the strategy segments, and it's such a small gripe, is that during the aerial portions of combat, I found targeting an enemy to become a bit finicky. Sometimes I could be right next to an enemy and be able to attack, while other times I need to move all over the place just to get the reticle to appear over the same enemy. It felt like the position I needed to be in to fire a shot was random, leading to the air sections becoming a tad tedious. Otherwise, everything else with the tactical elements of Sakura Wars was great. Sakura Wars' art style emulates the charm of classic 90s anime, which I'll always appreciate. The backgrounds are detailed, and characters are wonderfully expressive, giving Sakura Wars an appealing presentation. Voice acting was also good. If you got the PlayStation 2 version, players are provided the option of switching between English and Japanese voice acting, while the Wii version is English dub only. I rather like the English voices. I don't think any of them were incredible, but they were all more than serviceable. A particular highlight was Laura Bailey's performance as Gemini Sunrise, giving the character an adorable Texas accent.
Hey, you said the village, right? Think I could tag along with you? I've been trying to get there all day, but I can't make heads or tails of this dirty bird.
The only voice I thought was a little grating was Rosita. Her high-pitched voice, paired with her boisterous personality, got a bit grating for me. I do appreciate her actress, Melissa Fawn's dedication to giving her a Mexican accent while doing a younger character. That takes a tremendous amount of skill, so while the voice did wane on me, I can't deny it's a great performance. The game's soundtrack was amazing as well, matching the instruments and energy of the music from the era. A lot of effort was put into the various compositions, and they're all so easy to tap your feet and bob your head to. That said, I guarantee you'll be sick of the game's main theme, Earth Warriors, by the time the game is over. At least the first 30 seconds of the main theme. Not because the song is bad, it's equally as excellent as the rest of the tracks in the OST, but man do they overuse it. The opening, menus, uplifting moments, the song finds a way to sneak its way back into the game any chance it gets.
Stop, Soundwave! Turn it off! I can still hear it pounding in my brain!
I did have some moments where enemy attacks had no sound effects attached to them, leading to certain strikes feeling awkward and lacking the impact they should have.
Your suffering isn't over.
Definitely an oversight. Finally, Sakura Wars has plenty of replay value for those hoping to get the most out of their time with it. Aside from seeing all the character interactions during free time, there are 5 different endings you can receive, 1 per love interest. The only thing that holds this back is the story remains identical on subsequent playthroughs, regardless of which girl's route you are currently on. There are only noticeable changes during the final chapter or so don't go expecting a wildly different story the second time around. Additionally, Sakura Wars has collectible images of the girls you can collect by performing side tasks during the story, which can merit some bonus playthroughs for those hoping to collect them all. Me personally, I found them a bit unnecessary, but they do add incentive to explore and find alternate conversations, so they're good motivators for those wishing to replay the game again. Sakura Wars So Long My Love is an equally brilliant visual novel and tactical strategy. There's more visual novel than strategy, and the story that's there veers very much the goofy side, but it's nevertheless a blast. A delightful cast of characters and well-designed combat sections come together in a wonderful blend that is sure to captivate the hearts of those willing to give it a chance. Sakura Wars will take the stage at the number 21 spot, just ahead of our other romance title, Code Realize. Sakura Wars oozes charm and personality, so if you're looking for a dating sim with a little extra spice, this title may be for you. And that's all for this video. Have you had any experience with Sakura Wars? And if so, what's your favorite? If you played So Long My Love, whose ending did you get? Let me know down in the comments. I always love getting to chat with everyone. Next time, we'll be putting all this mushy love crap to the side. It's time for some violence. And what better way than with one of the series responsible for the creation of the Entertainment Software Ratings Board? Please look forward to that. In the meanwhile, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and may we see each other again when we turn to the next chapter in the Tome of Silver.